man was sawing an ancient tree. He suddenly realized that there seemed to be something hard buried under the ground. To verify his guess, he quickly dug up the soil beneath his feet. To his surprise, he found that the object was a statue of a Buddha. Excited, he quickly returned home and began to clean it with water. But what he saw in front of him left him shocked. The upper body of the Buddha statue was made entirely of gold. The sudden wealth that had fallen into his lap made him at a loss for what to do. He had never seen so much gold in his life. To prevent others from discovering the statue, he hurriedly took it to the basement when no one was around. Little did he know, it was this very gold Buddha that would drag him into an irreversible abyss. Ever since finding the statue, he couldn't sleep at night, with visions of the Buddha constantly on his mind. That night, he could no longer bear it and snuck down to the basement while his wife was asleep. He took the golden Buddha and began inspecting it closely, realizing it must be worth quite a bit of money. The next day, he found his friend and asked him to appraise it. To his surprise, when David saw the photo, he immediately became excited. He asked Jack where he had gotten it from, but Jack refused to tell him. Jack pretended it was something his grandmother had left him. When David learned that Jack planned to sell the Buddha, he offered to help find a buyer, but the condition was that David wanted a share of the money. After Jack agreed, the next day, David found a buyer for the statue. Soon, a luxury car slowly drove up. When two buyers stepped out of the car, Jack immediately took out a bag of rotten fruit. Then he searched through the bag for a while. Finally, after tearing through layers of newspaper, the pure gold Buddha statue was revealed. Seeing this, the buyers immediately took out their professional equipment to inspect it. They offered $200,000 for it. Jack thought the statue was definitely worth more than that, but the buyer said that such items weren't rare in the market. If Jack thought the price was too low, he could sell it to someone else. After hearing this price, Jack didn't want to sell, but he was poor and had no income. With two children in school, he couldn't turn down the offer, so he reluctantly agreed to the $200,000 price. Although $200,000 wasn't much, it was enough to temporarily lift his family out of poverty. Jack returned home with the $200,000 and dumped the cash onto the sofa. His wife and daughter couldn't believe their eyes when they saw the money. They asked Jack where the money came from, so Jack had to explain the whole situation. He reminded his family to keep the secret. With the money, Jack lived more carefree. He even bought a small car to pick up his eldest son after his vacation. He planned to take his family on a good vacation without worrying about money. However, little did he know, the $200,000 was spent far too quickly. In just a few days, it was nearly gone. His wife told him to be more frugal in the future, but Jack didn't care. He believed that there must be more than one Buddha statue beneath the ancient tree. So, the next morning, he confidently prepared to continue digging. But just then, David unexpectedly arrived on his motorcycle. It turned out that David had run out of money too. He thought Jack had found a way to obtain the golden Buddha, so he came to Jack to propose a partnership. Hearing this, Jack became irritated. He wasn't willing to share the secret and tried to brush David off with a few words. But David wasn't a fool and decided to visit Jack every day to see what he was up to. At this point, Jack became furious. Without saying anything further, he angrily kicked David out. However, because of David's insistence, Jack became too afraid to openly saw down the tree. Instead, he started buying a lot of wooden boards from the market. What Jack planned to do was dig a hole beneath the tree from underground. This way, he could continue searching for treasure without anyone seeing. But would this method really allow him to find treasure?